right?
Oh, no!
Good morning,
Tony Caravan. You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
I ain't one yet. This is insane.
Thank you. You can see they're pleased to inform me that I got out of jury duty. My doctor was cool enough to give me, they apparently have a form letter over there to get you out of that thing. I did grand jury duty when I was really young. They pay you like $100 a day. And mileage and stuff, which is pretty cool. But I figure I did jury duty once in my life. That's enough. And I did grand jury, so I I'm not going to do this local nonsense. Just trying to make sense of it all. The title of this show, it's the 25th of January, 2022. I put the first chat up that says strategic retreat is the most logical and only option. And of course, the title card here, which we're just going to call a title card from thus forward, is Are You Free? And I'm wearing my Hawaii, well, one of my many Hawaii shirts. Left over from the days when I used to be have a tiki bar. Well, I'm trying to think how many tiki bars I had. I had a couple tiki bars.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
In my house. I owned one. Owned one bar and managed another for a little while. Yeah. I was doing a turnaround for some people, but the owners of that particular place, there was one of those political things, where you have owners that don't disagree with each other, and then former employees that got problems think that they don't want to deal with, in other words, it was a clusterfuck to start off the show with the F word. But let's face it. Like I've said before, I'm pouring coffee when I'm dipping down like that. This idea that we have a problem in this country with language. There's so many bizarre things go on. We have government-sanctioned murder, coups, and all that kind of stuff, and wars, and killing of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Diseases that we don't even know where they came from, and if they're, if Big Pharma created them just to make hundreds of billions of dollars or not, or whatever. It's an insane existence. And like I said, I'm just trying to make sense of it all. I think most people who have a somewhat logical mind, that's kind of where their heads are. They're just trying to make some sense of it all. Isn't that like the part of that song, trying to make some sense of it all, whatever, But, which too bad got associated with that bizarre movie, that Tarantino flick, or the Tarantino was in. Was Tarantino in that, or did he direct it? I forget. I'm not a big Tarantino fan. Really not. I don't know. I really don't want to get into the details of why, particularly. I just want to show you something before we get started in this show, just for the hell of it. Let me take the background image off just so it's clear. This is, of course, I don't know if I'm going to make another batch of this. This is whole. These are whole grain, like multi-grain crackers, which are like zero fat, zero added, zero sugars. I mean, there's some carbs in there, but it's basically high fiber crackers. They're pretty hard. You got to have, teeth have to be pretty good shape. Since I had that last tooth out, my mouth seems to be holding up, knock on, whatever, knock on tooth. I topped it off with what is kind of almost like a salsa, a homemade salsa I made, because tomatoes apparently are okay for the gallbladder diet, liver, that sort of thing. Now, where I've deviated in the past 2 days, but again, I just polished this off yesterday, so I don't know if I'll go that route again, is I topped it off with a little bit of sprinkled some oregano on it, put some Parmesan Romano cheese, that's the white sprinkling on the top, and then some hot sauce, some Frank's red hot sauce, which is good. And it was a pretty tasty snack, and I ate, I ate more than 2 of them, really. And yesterday I gained a pound. Like in the past week, I gained 3 pounds, which really is bizarre. I mean, the way I can gain weight is really weird, and then in the 2 weeks or so prior, I lost the 10 pounds that I had gained like this. So now I'm back 3 towards that 10 that I lost. And yet if I were to go for some walk down to the grocery store and walk uphill and not have a healthy snack. I mean, you got to eat something, Besides, my breakfast, I should have taken a picture of that. I mean, I don't know if this looks gross to somebody or looks inviting to somebody. It's just like cracker pizza is what it is, really. But the idea is that, my breakfast was a shredded wheat, one of those larger shredded wheats on top of some oatmeal with some water with a little bit of peppermint extract in it, some little bit of cinnamon, and I guess it was, and sweetened with raw unfiltered honey mixed up in a bowl like porridge. And I guess I'll have some kind of salad today for lunch because I'm at the in-between time on, my budgetary shopping, food, and all that happy, horse pucky. So that's pretty much what I eat, So this week, Thursday, I'll probably put in a food order. We're supposed to have a blizzard. I didn't do, like I say, I'm not the weatherman, so I didn't do the weather. We're supposed to have snow flurries today here. Where it wasn't supposed to get up to freezing, today it's going to get up to 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. The overnight's going to be 9 degrees, and there's supposed to be flurries all day long. There was a winter weather advisory in effect through I don't know when it was supposed to end, but it was through today. So whether it was the morning or not, doesn't seem to be doing anything out there now. Of course, that camera wouldn't pick it up anyway, but the street looks white, though it does look like it's throbbing. You see that? I don't know, at least from my vantage point. And the rest of the week is still looking dry, so, but cold. That's here in the mid-Atlantic states. And I showed you that, actually this thing is still active. I mean, if we wanted to, and if just for the sake of, radio days.
The Weather Watch forecast.
I mean, this is the temperatures predicted by NOAA, that this is through when this, it even says Thursday the 27th down the bottom, but I mean ending January 26th. So, we're in forecast land right now, but, this was yesterday's forecast for yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And as you can see, the temperatures, the reds are 70s and above, or high 60s. And the blues, the lighter blues are in the 20s. And as it gets towards purple, you're getting down towards 0. And these are Fahrenheit temperatures. And any of those green areas are, pretty much just your average winter weather, freezing or above freezing. So it really, what we're seeing right now, despite, all these, there's still climate alarmists out there. They throw that on top of everything else. But, this is like so typical. This is like typical weather, January weather. Since I was a kid, right? Cold in the northwest, cold along the Rockies, right? And Southern California, and Florida and the Gulf Coast warmer, right around the coastal areas. That's the way it was. I lived in Florida for over a 4-season period, so I could vouch for that. I lived in California over a 4-season period. I could vouch for that. And I lived in the Northeast over 4 seasons. I could vouch for that. And I lived in like D.C. area over 4 seasons. I could vouch for that. This is just typical weather,
The Weather Watch forecast.
Yeah. So for you interested in that, it gives you, the morning show. I give you a national weather forecast and all other kinds of stuff and tell you what it's like here. But it's typical. This is what you would expect. You could see snow in camera 2 view up there. Stomach feels a little upset. I don't know why. Slightly. I was still taking a couple of these Stonebreaker pills that I had left over that are outdated. They expired the end of November. I only have a couple of them left. I figured I'd take them. They probably still have some potency in them, though they probably lost a lot of it. You're supposed to take like 3 a day. I was taking 1 a day, maybe skipping a day. I'm trying to take some of this milk thistle, which is like for liver health. I don't know. I guess I've been holding off, like I say, the barbarians at the gate. But I think it's time to stop taking the Stonebreaker stuff. And yesterday I put in a little dairy that sprinkled some Romano cheese, Parmesan Romano cheese on my thing. Big frickin' deal. I actually was going to have some Irish butter from, grass-fed cows, grass-fed butter. That's the best butter you could get in the world, by the way. Irish butter. Irish from grass-fed cows. It's hard to get. I got some at Aldi, but it's like on their list of like limited time items. But, that's a fat, but that's like a semi-healthy fat, the whole grass-fed thing, But it's like, I'm just trying to make some sense of it all. And the same with all of these topics. So, you look at Are You Free and the change, and you're kind of expecting, maybe, one of these outrageous shows. Or like that guy, Mark Passio, who gets real angry. He's got temper issues, whatever. What are the anger management issues sometimes? But the thing is, he calls it, I don't know if if you're a YouTuber and I mean, the very few people watching this, you got to be a YouTuber if you even found this thing, because you're not around. You're certainly not. I don't know who else would even find the thing like this. This show's so hidden. But if you ever watched a Mark Passio show, he's done a lot of shows. He was like one of these once a weeker type of guys. He does like was doing a 3-hour show. And over the many years, he's accumulated, like, so he has a lot of shows like I have, but, he does these, like PowerPoint type presentation type things. And he calls it the great work. And he's constantly trying to recruit people to do the great work. And the great work is to spread this word of his that he's pushing, natural law and all that stuff, which I cover. I've been covering myself for, it's in my books, it's in my songs, it's in my shows, and I do my shows every day, not once a week. And he apparently took like a half-year hiatus or something. But he gets out there and he gets yelling, and he's fired up about it, and a lot of these guys go to they have these conventions, like anarchy type of thing, but not in a sense of like what you would think, they're just, it's a different kind of anarchy, right? And then, obviously, you think from these, Antifa type of people, these guys are kind of, are more, Passio's like moral, ethical idea about freedom and natural law type of thing. And so that the government, nobody has the right to enslave you, that sort of thing. But like I say, a lot of the stuff that he says has aligned with my ideas for, decades. And I admire him for doing it. And his enthusiasm or over-enthusiasm is great. But, he hasn't had a lot of luck either. Recruiting, And he barely scratches by. He's doing his show out of his bedroom in some South Philly apartment or half of a house or something. And, that's the reality. And I'm doing my show, from an undisclosed location, but it's like, at least my house isn't part of a double. It's like it's standalone with a garden in the back. People don't care, And Mark, if you happen upon this show, hats off to you, brother. I'm behind you 1,000%, and all of that. But like I said in my little chat thing, strategic retreat, is the only option, really. It's a logical thing. In other words, get out of their way. There's no answer, there's no saving. I do this all the time. This guy certainly is not going to save America. He had a chance. He was in for 4 years. What makes you think 4 more years would change? They would just, like I said, they would triple down on him this time. The guy who's in office now, he's not in control. He's just a marionette. Like all the media and all the politicians. I mean all. A-L-L. All. And the people who follow and get caught up in this world, they're just marionettes. Because you're falling into their trap is what I'm trying to get at. So are you really free even when you speak out against these people or do something? And I direct this at everybody from, yesterday, in the past couple days I've gotten, or so many shows I've gotten on the case of Joe Rogan because he's just, has the potential to be an influencer, but he's not. I don't know why the media even goes after him because he doesn't do anything, He's not leading the charge. And everyone else, from Crowder, I mean, it's like it's a fun show. It's just, they're just basically, poking fun at the idiocy of the people in charge. It's entertaining. I've watched it sometimes. I haven't watched it lately. I get a kick out of it, I mean, I've done some of the costuming type of things here from time to time, especially around the holiday season. The Christmas hats on, Santa hat, and all that stuff. I saw a good picture of him yesterday or the day before, where he had, was criticizing this whole Ukraine, nonsense, and he had like the army hat on and a cigar in his mouth, and it was like pat, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's great, But it's like, yeah, I mean, that's about it. That's what you do if you have a platform. I mean, the guys who really, there's some people out there really like spelling it out big time, like Mark Levine. You know, you know, he has that book, American something other. Let's see. I'm just curious. New window. Mark Levin. He's a lawyer. He is a book. He's American Marxism is his latest book. Let's see if we go to the book, if we get a picture of him too. I'll just give you a little picture. I'll show you what I'm looking at, just so you know. This is Mark Levin. If I click on it, nothing happens. Images. Here we go. Just to give an idea of the man and his latest book. Oh, there he is. But he lays it all out. Look, let's just freeze it there for a second. Now he's got 15,000 views on that video. And the caption under that, Mark Levin says, the left is waging war against America's soul on multiple fronts. They masquerade under a myriad of social causes, critical race theory, genderism, Democrat socialism, progressivism, but they were all birthed at the altar of Marxism. And he exposes this in his latest book. So you get guys like him out there, who are definitely, spelling it out articulately, writing books about it, and all that sort of thing. I'm just picking those three. There's three people out randomly. So you got Mark there, you've got Crowder, and you've got like Rogan. Rogan does nothing. Rogan gives people an audience, at least. Okay. That's why the mainstream media hates him, because he at least brings on some people with varying opinions, and some of those people, and by no means the majority. It's a minority. It's once in a blue moon. Once every couple of weeks, you might have somebody who has some sort of leaning, towards sanity. Right. And, like he's not going to have Mark Passio on there. And I don't know if he's ever had like Mark Levin on there or not. And I'm sorry, Mark, if I'm not pronouncing your name right, if it's Levine or Levine. I think it's Levin. I've known too many, Levins, Levine's, over my lifetime, that, I don't want to insult you, get your name wrong. I watched your show, so forgive me. But he's not I don't think he had him on there, right? And Crowder, gets all worked up and out of shape, but it's mostly comedic in their in their criticism of the absurdity going on in the White House. So it's idiocracy. It really is. So we're just watching idiocracy play out, and we have a front row seat. So the question is, are you free? Yeah, you're free if you want to be, because I say freedom is a state of mind. So, the same old, but, it never gets old. I'm free when I'm growing my garden in my backyard and sitting in that chair, soaking up the vitamin D, listening to music, at the outskirts of town, right? I'm free. I've made all this music. I put this thing up. You can go to my YouTube. If you go on YouTube and look up Tony Caravan's beat poetry tracks, see there's 50 videos there. All right. But only 260 views. Well, from when I took this. This was November 21, which isn't that long ago. But there's some great tunes there. Nobody gives a shit. Mark Levin had like 15,000 views on that video we saw. That's nothing. For a guy his stature, he's on like Blaze TV. I mean, that's like I'm nobody. I'm just a guy broadcasting from my house because I know how to do it and because I spent a life in the broadcasting industry and advertising and entertainment and all that jazz. And I'm a tech geek, right? Computer geek. So this stuff comes naturally to me. I am one of the only guys with a webcam, outdoor webcam, camera 2 view outside. That's pretty funny. So that's a sure sign of geekdom, man. Sure. And having the old droid in the background is pretty much a sure sign of geekdom. There's actually 2 droids back there. The other one you can't really see. The lighting is very subdued these days, and I kind of like it. It's just like I'm almost sepia out, which is interesting. It's fine with me. It's 4:27 a.m. in the morning. I didn't sleep the best last night, but I feel fine. I mean, I basically was in bed a full 8 or 9 hours. It's just that towards the end, I was, I almost got a taste. I think that might have been some Folgers crystals towards the bottom. I have to tell you this, and I unfortunately, it is unfortunate because I'm not going to waste it unless I give it away to somebody. I have a giant can unopened in the refrigerator of 100% Colombian coffee. Like the big can, not the smaller cans, like the big can. And that's what this is coming out of that. But I had used this as I'd mixed in some Kona coffee into it. And I put a couple spoonfuls of Folgers Instant. And I think I might still have a Folgers Instant in my, cupboards, whatever, pantry, is the word I'm looking for. And I put some of that in here just for the hell of it, I don't know, a month ago. One guy drinking coffee, the big giant can like that lasts a month, especially if you're adding things to it from time to time that try to just mess with it. Add a little Kona in it. And one time I added some vanilla something or hazelnut. And yeah, I had this thing of instant coffee because I started instant coffee until I bought a coffee maker. Cheap coffee maker for like $9, like this coffee warmer I have. I paid $9 for. If it's less than $10, it's for me. It's like I'm a guy on a budget. But what I'm trying to say is, man, take Folgers Instant Crystal, and I think that coffee, that to me, that's like the best tasting coffee out there. Even, I don't know, I didn't taste the pure 100% Kona, maybe freshly roasted and stuff like that. I might try that, because everybody talks about it. Ethiopian and Kona coffee from Hawaii, wherever it is. Everything's backwards. Supposedly the best coffee in the world. Those brands like Ethiopian, Hawaiian, Kona. But I don't know. Folgers to me taste pretty good. Hot water, a scoop and a heaping tablespoon or two teaspoons of that in a cup. Coffee's coffee. I don't know if the brewed coffee is better for your system. I'm drinking coffee because they kind of say it's kind of good for your system. Though there's some people, again, like I said in that show I dedicated to the internet is broken. There's contradictions on the internet about that too. From like sites like Mayo Clinic versus such and such and such and such. It's like you try to find, agreement on the internet on anything to do with food, health, stuff like that. Certainly politics. But I mean, the things that really matter, like food and health, your life, your quality of life, forget it. So it's broken. It's the information age. Here's this thing, this terminal you supposedly have in your house that you should be able to just query with on something and get a straight answer. And instead you've got, revisionist history and, encyclopedias like Wikipedia, which is just not trustworthy. And you've got Google search, which gives you millions of results, which you couldn't possibly go through. Most of them on the first page are pay to play, so it's a paid advertisement. So you can't necessarily trust that. And so at the bottom of the first page or the second page, and then you look at a couple of those and they're in conflict with one another. So, are you free? It's a state of mind. You have to decide. Like this Passio's The Great Work and stuff, it's like there's 330 million people in this country, brother. All right? More than half of those people are functionally illiterate. Literally, functionally illiterate. You're not going to change them. And what's left, if they're not, tiny children who are involved in the process of being indoctrinated and conditioned, they're very aged people locked up in long-term care facilities or nursing homes. And anyone in between are ideologues who you couldn't change no matter what. You could sit them in a chair. You could didn't what's his name? I can't even think of it. Losing my mind again. The guy was married to Madonna for a little while. Not the Brit, the American actor. Who who played Spicoli in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That's like, in my book, that's like his claim to fame, though he's done these more serious flicks. I don't like him because he's politically motivated. But I don't know if it was an urban legend or not, but there was always a story that he one time tied Madonna to a chair in a room. You know, I don't know what he was trying, what the purpose was, but if she was out of control or he was trying to like. But the idea is you could tie somebody to a chair. I'm saying you should do this. But you can take an ideologue, tie them to a chair in front of a screen, and show them, you know, lay out all the facts. You could make a Mark Passio presentation slideshow in front of them and force them to watch it like in Clockwork Orange with those things that force the eyes open. They're not going to change. They're not going to change. So if you got more than half the country's functioning illiterate, right, the remainder are ideologues who are immovable, okay? And the rest are either children in the process of being indoctrinated, and you ain't going to mess with that system. You know, that goes down to the local level. School boards, administrations, teachers union. Man, they are like, that's a bureaucratic, you know, special forces, right? You can't touch, they're untouchable, unmovable. And then people who are, like I say, at the end of their lives who are, you know, forget it. And so that's what I'm saying. So the question isn't whether or not you're going to change, there's going to be change. See, that's a point I try to make about this whole thing here, that I know that every time I pull this up, it drives people nuts. You're not going to save America. You need to save yourself. So, are you free is the question, okay? Are you free? And if you don't feel you're free, you need to do everything you can do to make yourself free. And you still can do that. And there's 8 billion people on the planet. Just keep that in mind. It's not, I mean, you're talking about the type of numbers between this country's population, the former Western civilization, this is the former United States, and then the planetarily wise population, global population. That, and media, and, you know, and when you're in a situation like this, where the media and the politicians are just marionettes. And the moment somebody in the media dares to even like slightly make a statement or something in a phrase they say seems to go against the company line, right? Because this is a corporatocracy. They have to apologize or they're fired. So how are you going to change a society like that? By putting in some new figurehead, creating new laws, like I was trying to say yesterday? Do you know how many laws there are on the books? We already have a constitutional republic and a Bill of Rights. Nobody's paying attention to it. You know, there's all kinds of laws. Chicago and Detroit have all kinds of laws against, you know, the gang stabbings, murders, kidnappings, right? And all that stuff. But every weekend it's a free-for-all in those places. New York's the same way. I mean, you know, Philadelphia. You know, take your pick, any major city, D.C. There's places you just don't go. There's no-go zones in this country. And the average American's sitting pretty in there with their IKEA kitchen on their, some bed they bought online that came in a box that unpacks, and it's comfort foam. And this, modular sofa system in this living room with this angled 80-inch, 4 or 5K, whatever it is, plasma or whatever the latest technology television is. Watching the latest must-see TV after the news. That's America. Right? That's America. They're not watching YouTube. Look at all my viewers. I got 0 viewers right now. Now, I don't know when you're watching this. There might be 2 or 3 on there by then. But you know what? 2 of those numbers are me. I think I figured that out. Because what happens is, after this show's over, I go to a different browser. Mustache is itchy. I have to broadcast this using YouTube Studio in Safari, okay? Or in...
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
In Chrome, okay? Which is, the Google thing. Because Safari was being temperamental with YouTube Studio. At one point, I couldn't even use it, but I haven't gone back to even try if the latest update does it. But it doesn't matter. It's Google's thing, so I do it on Google, and everything seems to work. And I kind of like it this way because I just open up the app, it's set, it's right there, it loads, and I'm doing it for now until I shift to something else if I do. But that's all I use this for because it's got Google search on it and stuff like that. And on Safari, actually, I'm still using the Safari technology preview, even though they won't update it for me because I don't have the latest operating system. This computer won't take it. But I switched to that because I have like DuckDuckGo, which isn't really totally secure surf, but it's better than supporting Google's ads. And so I'll open up YouTube on there. And I guess when I open up YouTube on there, because that's where I use the share feature, and I share it on a half dozen social media sites. Because I don't do social media. But I have social media sites. So all I do is share it. So, I just you can just click a button and say share, and it's on Twitter. You click and it's on Tumblr. Have you been on Tumblr lately? It's on Facebook. It's on Minds. Well, Minds I have to copy and paste, and Podcast Index, and Mastodon, and Locals for right now. And I've got a thing set up that Rumble's like systematically adding videos from here, like through some bot, which is interesting. That's why if you go to Rumble, some of my videos are out of order. You'll see like a video from October might be at the top, and then right below it would be a video I did like 2 days ago. So watch the dates. So if you see me with a Christmas hat on, don't think, oh, he hasn't done a video since December. Right? Use your brain. But so I do that, and I think when I open that up, it's playing the video while I'm hitting the share. And so that counts as a view. Different browser, and I'm doing that thing. Then, and I'm not really listening or anything, and it doesn't take that long to do it. And then I go upstairs, and then I watch my shows back because this is content. And I told you, I'm working out ideas. It's like, it's the title of this show, just trying to make some sense of it all. And so, yeah, I'll watch this and see. This is unscripted, unlike the Passio show where he's got, slideshow presentation. Or these other guys that have teams and producers and writers or whatever, assistants. I don't have any of that. It's just I came on. I don't. It's like, are you free? I just try to come up with a point of departure. And I just happen to have all this like weird tech,
Really funny. Really funny.
Just because I'm a geek and I'm set up, and I'm a one-man show. I technically have a 3-camera system here. I only got 2 cameras working right now, but I could turn on the 3rd camera within, 30 seconds. There's no need to. There's nothing else to watch. I could show behind the scenes view if you wanted to see it. But what I'm getting at is that, yeah, I'm just trying to make some sense of it all. And the question of you being free, it's up to you. Freedom's a state of mind. And if if you can help someone out, awaken somebody to, that has something that's going to better their life, improve their quality of life. Remember, that's the most important thing when it boils down to it. Like I say, you have to know somebody who was seriously ill or have been seriously ill yourself to really see life in perspective and to understand how unimportant materialistic things are, right? Money, all the superficial things in life. Because all you want is that loved one of yours to recover, or in your own self, when you think you're going, you're like, hey, I'm not done yet. I'd like to have a little more time at this thing, whatever it is, and we've talked about that on some other shows. And again, I'm going to continue with that idea to tell you that, yes, this year's broadcasts are kind of we're just a constant continuation and building upon a series of ideas. So yes, the idea of what's it all about, is going to be a part of every show, just like this is going to be a part of every show. Different than last year, which was 365 consecutive shows about everything and anything. Right. These shows tie in together. We're trying to make sense of it. And so, I tried with the books. I tried with the songs. 50 songs, 10 books, 500 or 600 videos. I don't know what the number is. I have all kinds of stuff in archived I haven't even brought out yet. I haven't even talked about all the magazines and other things I've produced and stuff, published. But yeah, some people are happy being in chains, wage slaves. And you know what I'm talking about if you've ever had a job, like if you take that movie, The Office, that comic off the wall movie, where the guy just like one day just, that's a pretty good, it's a funny movie, but it's like, there's a good philosophy behind that too. But I mean, there are people there in the office, and if you've ever worked in an office, and I think I've had jobs, I worked my whole life. That's what I try to tell people. I'm retired now, and I'm waiting to get my SNAP, what's like the EBT, which is the equivalent of food stamps, on Thursday. All right? Because I live basically below the poverty line now, intentionally. I'm retired. And there's people look at that and go like, I can't believe that, you socialist weirdo. How could you talk like this? No wonder you're criticizing that Trump rally. And I'm like, screw you, man. I started working when I was 16 years old. I actually helped my dad out before that when I was a kid at his print shop. But I officially started working, collecting a paycheck, doing a job at a store when I was 16 years old. And I worked my entire life. And I paid taxes. I had my own companies. I did all kinds of things. No, I put in my time. All right? I worked in D.C., you know. I did everything. I've been everywhere. I've traveled. I've rotated around the planet. And so, yeah, don't go that way. Don't go there with me. But, you know, there have been times in my life where I was just in a thing. I had a summer job when I was like in college or something. And, yeah, I was working with a bunch of waitresses at a restaurant. And, you know, we were wage slaves, man. We weren't getting paid much. The boss was like a miserable guy, you know. I mean, it turned out I got to know him towards the end of the summer, and he turned out being a nice guy. But, you know, he was like, you know, most of the time. Till you got to know deep down inside he had a good heart. But, and I'm sure he's long gone now. Geez, that was 40 years ago, 35, yeah. Yeah, and he's in a care home somewhere. Had a nice wife, too. Nice lady. Good people. But anyway, hey, we were wage slaves, basically, at that place. But we had fun. I was working with I was the guy like behind the counter who took the orders from all the waitresses, came up to this window, gave me the orders, and I fulfilled like the drinks, you know, like the sodas, the coffee, and ice cream, like the short order type of, you know, simple things. And I pinned the order and put it on a dumbwaiter. I went down to the basement where the kitchen was, and that's where they did it, and then they sent up the food, you know. So I had all these dolls. This is while I was in college. Girls down the shore for a summer job. They were dolls. They were just... There's one girl, I can almost still see her face, man. Oh. It was so beautiful. You know? So, you know, some people, you know, it's like the gilded cage concept. You know, I'm sure there's people living in Central Park East or West or whatever in some $1 million apartment or one of these, you know, and I lived in New York, you know, in these doorman buildings, penthouse type of situation. It's lockdown didn't mean anything to them, you know. It's a gilded cage, right? And there's people who have jobs, and you know, I call it wage slavery, but to them it's like fun. See, that's another part that a lot of activists don't understand. Is some people just like being under the thumb of, they don't care if it's an authoritarian ruler. As long as they're not being, you know, this isn't like out of some medieval thing where they're being tortured or, you know, or being, you know, having their shirt ripped off and getting 30 lashes. You understand? If they're just working this job and they're laughing and having fun and doing their thing and they got money and they could go to Five Below and buy a record player, and play albums and think that they're, hipsters. You know what I'm talking about. And there's a lot of retired people like that. They're just happily retired. I'm just trying to still make some sense of it all, to be honest with you. Because I should be happily retired. I'm just a little bit bored, with life. Even though I have this, I don't know. I probably have the winter blues. Is there such thing? Because in the summertime, I'm out there doing my thing. And as long as my neighbor doesn't burn those black garbage bags this year, I'm looking forward to the summer. I had a neighbor who was burning garbage, but she was burning the whole bag. I couldn't believe it. I don't want to get into that because I don't even want to think about it. I'll have to put up like a 17-foot wall or something. But yeah. So it's a big country and there's a lot of land and it's spread out and the bureaucrats are fuckers. Raising taxes and stuff and the cost of living and inflation kind of sucks. Not kind of, it does suck. But if you can scrape by and be free yourself and have a decent quality of life, and like I was talking before, it has to do with health. Health is a part of your quality of life. On two different shows recently, I basically boiled down life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Liberty is freedom, obviously. But I boiled down that life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness. I said I don't like the word pursuit. I just want the happiness. I don't want to spend my whole life pursuing it. Do you see? I don't like that idea. Pursuit. I think they could have left that word out and just said life, liberty, and happiness. They should have went for it. Right? But you could take life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and if you look at that as an equation like an E equals MC squared, you could simplify that equation even more and just say the word happiness. It's just about happiness. Because if you don't have life, or your life is threatened, or your life, you don't have health, which is part of life, then you're not happy. And if you're not free, you don't have freedom of movement, freedom to do the things you want to do, then you're not happy. So in reality, life and liberty, it's almost redundant in a sense that really it's just happiness. Life is about happiness. Are you happy? And what you need to do is, I guess that's where the word pursuit would come in, is you need to pursue happiness. But it can't be a lifelong pursuit, because that's the problem with the way society's set up now and this idea of retirement. In other words, work your entire life, and then once you get to be 65, 67, 62, 65, 67. For some people, I think it's even later than that. It depends on how young you are. Then you can be free, right? And it's like, well, when you're 67 or 70 some years old, exactly, so much for that gorgeous girl waitress down in the shore, and enjoying her and making out with her and putting your hands on her soft skin and making love and going walking down the beach with her and stuff, right? Happiness. It's one form of happiness. It's my preferred form of happiness, personally. Beautiful women. But, yeah, so, you don't pursue happiness for too long. 6 months to a year is about as long a pursuit as I would make it. And in these scary times, I would say 6 months is about the max. My advice to you is to pursue happiness within the next 6 months and find it. And get yourself to the edge of town or out of one of these totalitarian states, Stasi states, former United States, some of which have become totalitarian states. Okay? And live your life. And whatever it is that makes you happy. And that's different for everybody. See, I can't tell you, some people might be happy if they just, find themselves an inexpensive place to live where they feel safe, and they could set up this incredible gaming setup and sit around and just play games. The gamers. Somebody might want to be some kind of sports fanatic and have when I had DirecTV, they had that thing where you could watch it was 4 or 6 channels of sports on one screen. And then you could kind of use your clicker to click on the one, and then you'd hear the volume there. And if you clicked again, then that would be the one you'd pull up. Well, I was imagining somebody who has one of these 80-inch or, super large screens and having that thing on. It's like you could be watching all the sports, every game on every college game on a Saturday and 6 of the major games on a Sunday. Football, baseball, hockey, soccer, whatever, the Olympics, whatever you're into. Hiking, camping, doing whatever. So the question is, are you free? Freedom is a state of mind. If you're working in some place and you are what I call a wage slave, but you don't consider yourself a wage slave, and you like the people you work with, and it's fun, and you look forward to going to work every day, there's people like that. I've been at jobs where, and you have friends. There was a time, like I said before, that's why a lot of this weird stuff where you can't, they have a problem. HR department has a problem if you go over to a woman's, workspace or her office and say, hey, you want to go to lunch? That's somehow considered, grounds for being fired or something. Most people met their spouses, girlfriends, or whatever at work, because that's where you spend your time. You're either at home in your cubicle, right? Your apartment, right? You live in the city, or you're at work. So where are you going to meet people? It's, at work, a bar, right? That's it. And, so under this thing, they close down the bars, or they say you can't and then at bars, you go up to a girl and say, hey, can I get you a drink? And that's also now considered something like you're accosting somebody. Got to be kidding me, man. When I was younger, I was in bars where girls grabbed my nuts. Tell you how crazy it was. Girls did that to me. Weirdest stuff. It's the girls clawing at me and stuff. Hey, relax, baby. I'm drinking. I'm not ready to leave. When I'm ready to leave, maybe I'll go back with you. I don't know. Yeah. I had some good times, that's for sure. But yeah, and I think that a lot of people don't get it. And so they get caught up in this political thing. And they think they have to save the country or change something or build back better, or the Great Reset, all this crazy stuff. And it is crazy, there's no doubt about it. But they have to understand that the people at the top are all marionettes. And if you play into that, you become a marionette. And like I said in yesterday's show, just even a decade or so ago, definitely 2 decades ago in the 90s, people weren't paying that much attention to politics. I mean, that's why Clinton never really got impeached, or like that was never a big deal, because half the people weren't even paying attention to it. There wasn't like that. It wasn't like it was blown out of proportion the way every night is politics. Everybody's talking about politics today. Unless you're smart enough to do what I do, is like when I go on YouTube, I'm watching how somebody does a thing, learn a thing. How do you trim? I've got these grapevines out in my backyard, and I'm waiting until February because there's snow out there. It snowed again. They're talking about a possible blizzard this weekend. It's like they haven't made the final. It's one of these hard to predict things. And I'm looking at my weather right now, and they're showing, it doesn't look like it was supposed to be like Friday. So I don't think they've, they have these models, the European model, the US model, and then there's the Canadian model. And they model these forecasts, and and I know what I'm talking about because I bring up these things all the time. So I know where the Weather Channel gets their stuff. It's all paid for by our taxes, right? And yes, I paid my fair share of taxes over the years, more than my fair share. So yeah, I'll take a food stamp. But I got to wait till that happened to see what's going to happen if we're going to end up with some like foot of snow and 40-mile-an-hour winds. Be that as it may, I'll watch something about how to properly trim your grapevines and things like that. I'm not watching politics. I used to watch, like I said, I used to watch Crowder sometimes for a couple of laughs, but, I couldn't watch the whole show. And I know that's why people don't watch my show. My shows are like 2 hours long, for the most part. I mean, I've been trying to end them at about an hour and a half, and I might do that today too. And cut it short. I mean, it'd be nice if I could get them down to a half hour, an hour. But when it's an unscripted show, and you have a point of departure and you're trying to get somewhere, it takes time. And sometimes you got to work ideas out, and I get on a little tangent here and there, but that tangent usually ends up being apropos to the show, and it all works out in the end, and I watch these things back, and they kind of make sense. At least they do to me, anyway. So, 5:08 a.m., the coal trucks should be starting soon on their way to the 2 coal-fired electric plants that basically run those Tesla vehicles. Your Tesla is powered by coal. But yeah, freedom's state of mind. And I think it's time people stop pretending that they are donating money to political campaigns that are just putting ads, feeding the media, making those people that they can't stand richer, right? The media talking heads. And they're not changing anybody's mind anyway. Save your money. Save yourself, right? Find your own freedom. Pursue your own happiness. Get the things or the place or wherever, whatever it is that makes you happy. You know, that's what your focus should be on. And to these people who are, you know, trying to sway public opinion to change minds, all you're doing is taking one authoritarian rulers and replacing them with another. And you say, yeah, but I have the moral high ground. Like in other words, we're here, we're moral. These people are Marxists, like I showed you Mark Levine thing. And I do respect that guy. He's got his head together, and he's an intelligent dude. But the world's not that way. This is the world, all right? There are millions of bureaucrats that have nothing to do with elections. You know, all the alphabet agencies in D.C. and stuff, they're the people that really kind of run things. And they don't listen to elected officials. And like I said before, there's all kinds of laws. That doesn't stop people from violating them. And the only way you can stop them is with brute force, and then you become a totalitarian state. It's like I was saying, California has this problem. It's like the Wild West. They're robbing trains like in the 1800s. Right? They have a train robbery problem going on there now. It would almost be laughable, you know? So, you know, what are they going to do? Put guys with guns on the trains and shoot to kill? You see? See what I mean? You know, we're already living in like a Mad Max dystopian world in many parts of this country. And like I was saying before, people are sitting there with their IKEA kitchens and their sectional sofas, you know, and their foam bed they ordered online. And they're just sitting there in their comfort watching their, 4 or 5K 80-inch curved TV. HD TV. You know, in their safe building or, you know, cul-de-sac, gated community. And those people don't give a shit. And they don't care about their kids being indoctrinated. Their kid comes home and says, Mommy, you know, our ancestors were, you know what? And the mother goes, yeah, you're right, honey. Go do your homework. You're right. You know what I mean? It's like it's like I'm saying, the people who have these jobs, they don't get paid that much, but they like going to work and they like the people they work with, and it's fun, and they look forward to going to work and having lunch together. You know? You have to understand society, and when you get these, you know, a planet that has so many people so spread out, and the United States, 330 million people, that those who live quiet lives of desperation can't comprehend the other people that are just don't see it the way. It's like, you know, the protester, the activist, doesn't understand the person who's complacent right? Accepting and, to use the word, happy with their life, even though to the activist that life seems absurd and as if they're a wage slave. So it's the whole idea is don't tell, it's like what they would say to you, don't tell me how to live my life, right? And that's what I'm saying. I'm not telling you how to live your life. You do whatever makes you happy. Happiness is what it's all about. And I know myself, I hope the garbage man can see my garbage bag. I just remembered that. That's why I was going to go out today. So I made my garbage bag visible. There's today's garbage pickup day. Doesn't sound like a big deal to you, but to me it is. So, yeah, it's kind of in one respect, I'm just trying to figure it out for myself too. And I don't profess to have the answers. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. I'm giving you insights in like my thought process behind this all and trying to figure it out. I'm asking the questions, the big questions. Are you free? But that's a question for you to ask yourself. You see, I'm not really asking you. It's a question for you to ask yourself. Are you happy? And that's it. And that's really it. And I think that, we need to all focus on those kinds of things and not focus on this, on trying to change people and thinking a person who had 4 years to do it and who got totally kicked in the teeth, literally, several times. And that it's all a corporatocracy anyway, and they're all just puppets, no matter what. And that if they did seize power, then the only way they could change things would be with brute force. Do you follow that? Because people don't want to change, right? Here's why it looks so dark. It's because I have this thing. Yeah, see, that lightens it up a little bit more. I have a little light in the side here. You can see a little bit of my background. People don't want to change. They want to be their own self, their own person. And, no one has the right to tell another person how to live. And so as much as, the powers that be, are bothering you and are abhorrent to you maybe right now with what they're doing and all the things they're doing, if you were to seize power, right, then what do you do about those, they talk about this divided country. So you're going to force your will upon them because you're not going to ideologically change them. People don't change ideologies, right? I mean, I don't, like I say, I don't want to be weird graphically, insulting, but I mean, people use the term like pink hair, or pink hairs and stuff like that. So you're going to get everybody with pink hair to suddenly dye their hair auburn or brown, right? And put on a lace dress, lace collar. Do you understand? It's not going to happen. right? That's like telling somebody with a piercing to get rid of your piercings, or somebody with tattoos to get rid of your tattoos. Do you see what I mean? People are people. They pursue their own, ends for whatever, whatever reasons they have. That's what freedom is. And see, the people don't understand that. Like the people who are, the politics people. And, like I said, a couple of decades ago, people didn't even give a shit about politics, except the people who were caught up in it, the political class. But most of us were just out doing things, I mean, I was doing radio, internet, and advertising in the 90s. Those were my three main things. Graphics, creative director of an ad agency. I was like involved with the .com revolution, right? And I was doing online radio. It was popular online radio. And I just left the radio station before I had come to the place where I got involved in advertising and doing the .com stuff. I didn't follow the Clinton administration at all. I was barely aware of like that impeachment thing. I wasn't watching anything about it. It was like somewhere in the peripheral, vision, in my head. I was having too much fun, doing the things I was doing. And everybody I knew, we were all doing the things we were doing. And life was fine. It was a lot better, 30 years ago was a lot better. Like I still say the internet was a lot better. I think technology was a lot better in the 90s than it is today. Computers were better. It's hard for people to believe. You take a Mac and it starts up like an old IBM PC did. I start up my old 20-year-old Mac over here that I use for these sound effects things, Good morning. And that just like starts up like that. Well, anyway, I'm going to end this show a little bit early because I got to deal with my garbage. I just remembered that. I want to make sure they collect my garbage. It's not covered with snow because it snowed last night. And I put it out yesterday. And I want to make sure that my bag's not covered with white and the truck just passes it by. But anyway, we'll continue this conversation. So, like I said, good morning. Thanks for watching. And visit my site, ROCKFLUX.com, TonyCaravanLive.com. Get one of my books and all my stuff. All right? It'll help support the channel. Let me know that you give a hoot. Take care.